The lights on Jupiter Station dimmed as it entered night cycle. Most systems switched to power-saving mode. The only sounds were the soft hum of life support and the gentle tapping of Haynul's fingers on her tablet. Haynul yawned and stretched her arms above her head. Being the only person awake on the entire station was lonely, but someone had to monitor the systems while the rest of the crew slept in their cryopods. Food and oxygen were limited, so crew members took turns staying awake. "Just 4 more hours until I can sleep," she said to herself, checking the time. The 20-year-old engineer was the youngest person on Jupiter Station, but her skills with machines had earned her this important job. Haynul walked to the small kitchen area and made herself a cup of hot tea. The artificial gravity made the liquid settle normally in her cup, almost making her forget she was floating in space near the largest planet in the solar system. Almost. She carried her tea back to the control room and sat in the worn chair facing the main screens. The station was old, built 15 years ago, when humans first started exploring beyond Mars. But Haynul loved every dented panel and patched-up pipe. This was her home. A sharp beep from the communications panel made her jump, spilling tea on her uniform. "What the?" Haynul wiped at the stain with her sleeve as she turned toward the sound. The comm panel rarely made noise during night cycle. Earth sent messages during day cycle, when power was at full capacity. The beep came again, more urgent this time. Haynul set down her cup and pushed her chair to the panel. A light was blinking. Incoming transmission from an unknown source. Haynul frowned. All human ships and stations were programmed into the system. There shouldn't be any unknown sources in this part of space. Her heart beat faster as she accepted the transmission. Static filled the speakers, then cleared. "Attention human outpost," said a deep voice, speaking perfect but oddly accented English. "This message serves as formal notice of territory claim by the Voidborn Collective." Haynul froze. This wasn't a human voice. It couldn't be. "Your species has expanded beyond its home planet without proper authorization from established spacefaring civilizations. The star system you call Solar lies within Expansion Zone 87 Delta of the Voidborn Collective." The main view screen activated by itself, showing a massive ship unlike anything Haynul had ever seen. It was shaped like a giant black diamond with pulsing blue lights along its edges. The ship was at least 20 times larger than Jupiter Station. "All human constructions beyond Earth orbit must be evacuated immediately. Resistance is inadvisable. Your technological development level has been assessed as Category 3, which is insufficient for space colonization rights." Haynul's hands shook as she tried to record the message. Aliens. Real aliens. And they were telling humans to go back to Earth. Verification of this message received is required. Identify yourself, human administrator. The voice waited. Haynul realized they wanted her to respond. She should wake the captain. She should wake everyone. But the alien ship was right there, and they were waiting. Haynul pressed the transmit button. "This is Haynul Kim, Engineer Class 2 of Jupiter Station. I receive your message." There was a pause. "Only one human is conscious. Where are your leaders?" The voice sounded surprised and maybe a little annoyed. "The rest of the crew is in cryosleep to conserve resources. I'm the current shift monitor." Another pause, longer this time. "A single female human engineer. Curious choice for first contact protocol. No matter. Inform your leaders when they awaken. You have 24 Earth hours to begin evacuation procedures." The Voidborn Collective claims this system effective immediately. The transmission cut off, leaving Haynul staring at the giant ship on the screen. Her tea grew cold beside her as the full weight of the situation pressed down on her shoulders. 24 hours to evacuate. 5 crew members in cryosleep. One impossible choice for Haynul to make. Haynul's fingers hovered over the cryopod control panel. 5 sleeping faces looked peaceful behind the frosted glass. Should she wake them all? The captain would know what to do, but waking everyone would use precious oxygen and food supplies. Think. Hey Newell, she whispered to herself. What's the smart move here? She pulled up the crew files on her tablet. Captain Jinwoo had military experience, but was nearly 60. Medical Officer Sua would panic. She always did in drills. Communications specialist Dahyun might help talk to the aliens, but he was also very by the book. Then there was Ta Yang, Chief Security Officer. Young, strong, and level-headed in emergencies. Newell made her decision. She pressed her finger to the scanner and typed in the override code for a single pod. Warm air hissed as Ta Yang's cryopod opened. This better be important, Ta Yang grumbled as his eyes adjusted to the light. Then he saw Hey Newell's face. What happened? 10 minutes later, they stood together in the control room, watching the recording of the alien message. Ta Yang's usual confident expression had disappeared. You should have woken the captain, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. And tell him what? That aliens want us gone in 24 hours, and we can't even call Earth for help. Hey Newell pointed to the communications panel. I've tried every channel. They're blocking us somehow. Ta Yang squinted at the screen showing the diamond-shaped ship. One ship doesn't seem like much of an invasion force. Maybe it's just the first, Hey Newell suggested. The communication panel beeped again. Hey Newell and Ta Yang exchanged nervous glances before Hey Newell accepted the transmission. The same deep voice filled the room. Human engineer Hey Newell Kim. We detect 2 conscious life forms now. You have awakened another. Ta Yang stepped forward. This is Chief Security Officer Ta Yang Park of Jupiter Station. By what right do you claim our solar system? The screen flickered to life. This time, instead of showing the ship, it displayed an alien face. The creature had gray-blue skin, 4 yellow eyes, and no visible nose. Its mouth was small and lipless. By right of superior civilization, human, I am Commander Nexus of the Voidborn Collective. Your species has barely left its cradle world. You are children playing with dangerous toys. Newell felt anger rising in her chest. We built these stations. We earned our place here. The alien made a sound like stones grinding together, perhaps laughter. Your primitive outposts are amusing but ultimately meaningless. The resources of this system will serve a greater purpose under Voidborn control. And if we refuse to leave? Ta Yang asked, his hand instinctively moving to where his weapon would normally be holstered. Then we will remove you. The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. But we are not barbaric. We offer peaceful evacuation first. Newell stepped closer to the screen. Can we negotiate? Surely there's room for both our species. Commander Nexus stared at her for a long moment. Curious. The female wishes to negotiate. His tone made it clear what he thought of that idea. Your species is too primitive for meaningful diplomatic relations. You have 23 hours remaining. The screen went dark. Ta Yang punched the wall, arrogant 4-eyed. They think we're weak. Hey Newell interrupted. Especially me. Did you hear how he talked about the female? We need to wake the others, Ta Yang said. Prepare the station's defenses. Hey Newell shook her head. What defenses? We have 2 small maintenance shuttles and a few pressure suits with maneuvering jets. That's it. She walked to the window and looked out at the giant alien ship floating against the backdrop of Jupiter's swirling clouds. They don't think we're a threat, she said quietly. Especially not me. Ta Yang joined her at the window. So what do we do? Newell turned to him, a small smile forming on her lips. We use that. They've shown us their first weakness. They underestimate us. Now we need to find their second weakness. And how do we do that? By watching closely, Hey Newell said, turning back to the monitoring equipment. Everyone makes mistakes, even aliens who think they're gods. Hey Newell had never worked so fast in her life. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she reprogrammed Jupiter Station's sensors to gather as much data as possible about the alien ship. What exactly are we looking for? Ta Yang asked. He had brought them both food, simple nutrition bars, and water pouches, but Hanuel's remained untouched beside her. Anything unusual? Energy readings, radiation patterns, weak spots in their hull. She didn't look up from her work. Something we can use. Tai Yang nodded and turned to the weapons locker, entering his code to retrieve the station's limited supply of defense weapons. The locker slid open to reveal 2 pulse rifles and 3 hand blasters. "These won't do much against that thing," he muttered. Hanuel finally looked up. "That's why we need to be smarter, not stronger." The station's main screen displayed rotating views of the Voidborn ship from different angles. The diamond shape looked even stranger up close. The surface wasn't solid metal as Hanuel had first thought. It seemed to shift and flow like liquid, even though it held its overall shape. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a data readout. "Their ship is putting out massive energy waves, but they pulse. There's a pattern." Tai Yang leaned closer. "What does that mean?" "I'm not sure yet." Hanuel brought up more sensor data. "But see this spike here? It happens every 8 minutes exactly. Then there's a 3-second drop in their shield strength. It's tiny, but it's there. Can we use that somehow? Maybe time an attack?" Hanuel shook her head. "With what? Our maintenance shuttles couldn't even scratch them." She chewed her lower lip, thinking hard. Then her eyes widened. "What about the station's communication array? If I reconfigure it?" Her hands moved quickly again, pulling up technical diagrams of Jupiter Station. The massive dish that allowed them to communicate with Earth and other outposts was powerful, much more powerful than it needed to be for simple messages. The array was designed to cut through Jupiter's radiation storms. Hanuel explained as she worked. "If I redirect all of the station's power to it and change the frequency to match their energy pulses, you could what? Talk to them." Tai Yang looked confused. "No." Hanuel's eyes gleamed with excitement. "I could disrupt their systems, maybe even temporarily disable their ship." Tai Yang's expression hardened. "That's an attack. If it doesn't work, they'll destroy us for sure. If we do nothing, they'll take over our entire solar system." Hanuel stood up straight. "Do you have a better idea?" Before Tai Yang could answer, the lights in the station flickered. A moment later, the communication panel beeped. Commander Nexus appeared on screen without waiting for them to accept the transmission. "We have scanned your station and detected weapons being removed from storage. This is unwise." Tai Yang moved to stand in front of Hanuel, as if his body could shield her from the alien's gaze. "We have the right to defend ourselves," he said firmly. "Your weapons are useless against us." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in their strange sequence. "We have been merciful in giving you time to evacuate. Do not test our patience." The screen went dark again. "They're watching us," Tai Yang whispered. "They can see inside the station." Hanuel nodded slowly. "Then we need to be careful about what we let them see." She walked to her workstation and grabbed a tablet, then motioned for Tai Yang to follow her. They moved to the small bathroom, the one place with no external sensors or windows. Once inside, Hanuel turned on the shower to mask their voices from any listening devices. She held up the tablet, showing Tai Yang her plan. "I can create a focused electromagnetic pulse to hit their ship at exactly the right moment in their energy cycle," she whispered. "But I need to work where they can't see me." Tai Yang studied the diagrams on the tablet. "This is a huge risk, Hanuel." She met his gaze steadily. "Sometimes the biggest threat comes from where you least expect it. They don't think I'm dangerous. Let's prove them wrong." The maintenance tunnel was hot and narrow. Hanuel crawled through it with a bag of tools strapped to her back. Sweat dripped into her eyes, but she kept moving. These tunnels had no sensors because they were only meant for repair robots, not humans. "How much farther?" Tai Yang's voice came through her earpiece. He was keeping watch in the control room, pretending to prepare the station for evacuation, while feeding the aliens false information. "Almost there." Hey Newell whispered back. I'm nearly at the power junction. She reached a small opening and squeezed through it. Now she was behind the main power controls, hidden from view, but able to access every system on the station. Newell pulled out her tablet and connected it to the power junction with a thin cable. The screen lit up with diagrams of the station's energy grid. She had 15 hours left before the aliens' deadline. What if this makes them angry? Tai Yang asked over the comm. What if they just blow us up? Then we die fighting instead of running away. Hey Newell replied as she worked. But I don't think they'll destroy us right away. They're too curious about us. Did you see how Commander Nexus watched me? Like I was some strange bug. She began rerouting power from non-essential systems. The gym, the hydroponics bay, the backup life support, everything except main life support, and the cryopause would feed her weapon. The aliens are scanning the station again, Tai Yang warned. They're asking why power levels are changing. Tell them we're shutting down systems to prepare for evacuation, Hey Newell said. They'll believe that. For the next 3 hours, Hey Newell worked without stopping. She built a device that would send a massive energy burst through the communication array, timed perfectly to hit when the alien ship's shields were at their weakest. When she finally crawled out of the maintenance tunnel, her uniform was soaked with sweat, and her hands were covered in small burns and cuts. Tai Yang was waiting for her. The aliens keep asking for progress reports. I don't think they trust us. Good, Hey Newell said, brushing dust from her clothes. That means they're nervous. She walked to the small kitchen area and drank a full pouch of water without stopping. Then she turned to Tai Yang with serious eyes. You should get in your cryopod, she said. If this goes wrong, at least you'll be safe. Tai Yang crossed his arms. No way. We do this together. Someone needs to survive to warn Earth, Hey Newell argued. The aliens don't know about the cryopod's emergency shielding. If the station is destroyed, the pods will eject automatically. Then you get in a pod, Tai Yang shot back. This was your plan. I'll press the button. Hey Newell shook her head. It needs to be monitored and adjusted in real time. I have to do it. They stared at each other, neither willing to back down. The communication panel beeped, breaking their standoff. Commander Nexus appeared on screen, his 4 yellow eyes narrowed. Your time grows short, humans. We detect unusual power fluctuations in your station. Explain. Newell stepped forward before Tai Yang could speak. We're shutting down non-essential systems to prepare for evacuation, she said, keeping her voice steady. It's a big station for just 2 awake people to manage. The alien commander stared at her for a long moment. You are lying, female human. Your heart rate and pupil dilation indicate deception. Newell felt cold fear spread through her chest. They could read her body signs. We have been patient, Nexus continued. But our patience ends now. You will surrender the station in 1 hour, or we will take it by force. The screen went dark. Tai Yang looked at Hey Newell with wide eyes. 1 hour. What happened to the rest of our time? Newell turned to her console. They know we're up to something. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, which means we need to act now. She pulled up the program she had created and activated it. The station's lights dimmed as power was diverted to the communication array. What are you doing? Tai Yang asked, alarmed. Newell didn't look up, proving that sometimes the smallest creature can be the most dangerous. Outside the station, the massive communication dish began to turn, aiming directly at the alien ship. The station shook as power surged through its systems. Lights flickered, and emergency warnings flashed on every screen. Hey Newell's fingers danced across the control panel, making tiny adjustments as she watched the energy levels climb. 30 seconds until maximum charge, she said, her voice tight with concentration. Tai Yang stood by the window, watching the huge dish outside turn slowly toward the alien ship. They're going to notice this. They already have. Hey Newell replied without looking up. But they don't know what we're doing. On cue, The communication panel lit up again. Commander Nexus appeared, his blue-gray face twisted with anger. "What are you attempting, humans? Your primitive technology cannot harm us." Hanul ignored him, focused entirely on her task. The energy levels were nearly at their peak. 10 seconds, she whispered. Tai Yang moved to stand beside her, his hand finding hers for a brief, supportive squeeze. 5, 4, 3. "Stop this foolishness now," Nexus demanded, his voice rising. 2, 1. "Now." Hanul slammed her hand down on the activation button. The entire station went dark for 3 seconds. Then the emergency lights came on, bathing everything in dim red light. Outside, the communication dish glowed bright blue before firing a concentrated beam of energy directly at the alien ship. The beam hit exactly as planned, during the 3-second drop in their shield strength. For a moment, nothing happened. Hanul's heart sank. Then the alien ship flickered. Its smooth diamond shape seemed to ripple like water. Blue light raced across its surface in jagged patterns. It worked. Tai Yang shouted, grabbing Hanul's shoulders. "You did it." But Hanul wasn't celebrating. She watched the alien ship carefully, her eyes narrowed. Something's wrong. The alien ship had stopped rippling, but it wasn't retreating. Instead, a section of its side opened up, and a smaller vessel emerged. This one was shaped like an arrow, and glowed with angry red light. "They're coming here," Hanul said quietly. "We made them mad." The communication screen flickered back to life. Commander Nexus stared at them, with all 4 of his yellow eyes wide open. "You dare attack a Voidborn ship?" His voice was cold with rage. "This primitive assault has caused minor system disruptions, but nothing more. Your insolence will be punished." The screen went dark again. Tai Yang ran to the weapons locker and grabbed the pulse rifles. "We need to defend ourselves. They're going to board us." "Those won't stop them," Hanul said, but she took the rifle he offered anyway. "We need to think of something else." The station's sensors beeped urgently. The small alien ship was approaching fast, its weapons systems active and locked onto Jupiter Station. "Get to the cryopod room," Tai Yang ordered. "Wake the others. We need everyone now." Hanul shook her head. "No time. That ship will be here in minutes." She turned back to her console and began typing rapidly. "My pulse disrupted their systems, but not enough. If I could get closer, get inside their ship somehow, I might be able to do more damage." "That's suicide," Tai Yang said, grabbing her arm. "You can't just walk onto an alien ship." "Maybe I won't have to," Hanul replied, her eyes fixed on the approaching vessel. "Maybe they'll bring me there themselves." Before Tai Yang could ask what she meant, the station shook violently. The alien ship had fired a warning shot across their hull. "Surrender now." Commander Nexus's voice came through the speakers. "We are sending warriors to take control of your station. Resistance means death." Hanul took a deep breath and stood up straight. "I surrender," she said clearly. "This was my plan alone. The others had nothing to do with it." Tai Yang stared at her in horror. "What are you doing?" "Finding a way onto their ship," she whispered back. "Trust me." The station shook again as the alien vessel docked with an airlock. The sound of metal cutting through metal echoed through the corridors. The Voidborn were coming aboard. The airlock door melted away like ice under a flame. In its place stood 3 towering figures, each at least 8 feet tall. The Voidborn warriors wore armor that seemed to flow around their bodies like liquid metal. Their helmets had no face shields, just 4 glowing yellow eye holes that stared coldly at the humans. Hanul and Tai Yang stood side by side in the corridor leading to the control room. Tai Yang still held his pulse rifle, but Hanul had set hers down on the floor as a sign of surrender. "Put the weapon down," she whispered to Tai Yang. "We can't win this fight." The lead Voidborn warrior stepped forward. Its armor made soft clicking sounds as it moved. When it spoke, its voice echoed strangely, as if coming from everywhere at once. "Which of you attacked our ship?" Tai Yang moved slightly in front of Hanul, his rifle still raised. "We acted in self-defense. You threatened our home." The warrior ignored him completely, looking past him to Hanul. "Our scans indicate the energy signature originated from systems you were operating. Female human." Hanul gently pushed Tai Yang aside and stepped forward. "Yes, I did it. I created the pulse that disrupted your ship." All three warriors turned their glowing eyes to her. There was a moment of silence, then something that sounded like harsh, grinding laughter came from their helmets. "Impossible," the lead warrior said. "You are too small, too weak. Your species is primitive, and females are the weaker subset." Hanul felt her face grow hot with anger, but she kept her expression calm. "Yet I still managed to damage your superior technology." The leader stepped closer, towering over her. Hanul had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact, but she didn't step away. "Commander Nexus wishes to speak with the one responsible," the warrior said. "You will come with us." "She's not going anywhere," Tai Yang said, raising his rifle again. The second warrior moved faster than Hanul thought possible. In one smooth motion, it knocked the rifle from Tai Yang's hands and threw him against the wall. He slumped to the floor, dazed but conscious. "Tai Yang." Hanul tried to run to him, but the lead warrior grabbed her arm. "He is not seriously harmed," the warrior said, "but he will be if you resist." "I'll go with you," Hanul said quickly. "Just don't hurt anyone else." The warrior released her arm and nodded to its companions. The third warrior moved to a control panel on the wall and pressed several buttons seemingly at random. Alarms began to sound throughout the station. Blast doors slammed shut, sealing off different sections. "What are you doing?" Hanul demanded. "Securing the station," the warrior replied. "The other humans will remain contained while we complete our mission." Tai Yang struggled to his feet, holding his side where he had hit the wall. "Hanul, don't do this." The lead warrior turned to him. "The female has made her choice. You will remain here." Hanul caught Tai Yang's eye and gave him a small nod, hoping he would understand her plan. Then she turned to the warriors. "I want to see your ship. I want to understand how it works." The leader tilted its helmet, as if puzzled by her request. "Curious. Most species beg for mercy when captured. Humans are different," Hanul said simply. "Indeed." The warrior gestured toward the airlock. "Come." As they led her away, Hanul glanced back at Tai Yang one last time. He was watching her with worried eyes, but he gave her a slight nod in return. He trusted her. The Voidborn guided Hanul through the melted airlock and into a narrow passage that connected Jupiter Station to their smaller ship. Inside, everything was made of the same flowing metal as their armor. The walls pulsed with blue light, giving the impression that the ship itself was alive. "Commander Nexus is curious about you," the lead warrior said as they walked. "No human has ever attacked a Voidborn ship before, especially not a female." Hanul kept her face carefully neutral. "Maybe you should be more careful about who you underestimate." The warrior made that grinding laugh sound again. "Your bravery is amusing, but pointless. One human cannot stand against the Voidborn collective." As they entered the main chamber of the small ship, Hanul let her eyes wander, taking in every detail, noting every control panel and power junction. She was already forming a plan. "We'll see about that," she whispered to herself. The small alien ship moved smoothly away from Jupiter Station. Through a clear panel that served as a window, Hanul watched the station grow smaller until it was just a tiny dot against Jupiter's massive swirling surface. The warriors led her into the main control room. Unlike human ships with their many buttons and screens, this room had only a few glowing panels and what looked like liquid metal pools that the aliens dipped their hands into to control the ship. Commander Nexus stood in the center of the room. Without his image being projected on a screen, Newell could see how truly alien he was. He stood at least 9 feet tall, his body thinner and more graceful than the warriors. His skin had patterns that shifted like oil on water, and all 4 of his yellow eyes moved independently, looking in different directions at once. "The human female," Nexus said, turning all eyes to focus on her. "You are smaller than I expected." Newell straightened her back and met his gaze. Size isn't everything. Indeed. Nexus moved around her in a circle, studying her from all angles. "Your attack was unexpected, primitive, but clever. How did you know about the shield cycle?" "I observed," Newell said simply. "Your ship puts out energy in a regular pattern. I noticed there was a weak point every 8 minutes." Nexus stopped circling. 2 of his eyes blinked while the others continued to watch her. "You discovered this in less than 1 day. With basic human technology." Newell shrugged. "Like I said, I observed." "Interesting." Nexus gestured to a raised platform in the center of the room. "Stand there." Newell hesitated, then stepped onto the platform. Immediately, blue light surrounded her, and she felt a strange tingling on her skin. "What is this?" she asked, trying to keep the fear from her voice. "A simple scan," Nexus replied. "We want to understand how your mind works. Most species cannot detect our shield patterns so quickly." As the blue light pulsed around her, Newell used the opportunity to look carefully around the room. She noticed patterns in the ship's design that seemed familiar somehow. The way energy flowed through conduits in the walls, the arrangement of the control pools. They followed logical principles, not so different from human engineering. "Your technology," she said, hoping to keep Nexus talking. "It's not magic. It follows rules, like ours does." Nexus made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Of course. The universe has laws that all must follow. We have simply studied those laws for thousands of years longer than your young species." The scan completed, and the blue light faded. Newell stepped off the platform, moving casually toward one of the wall panels that glowed with symbols. "These are your ship's systems," she said, pointing to the symbols. "This one is life support. This one is navigation." Nexus's 4 eyes widened slightly. "You can read our language." "No," Newell smiled. "But I understand the logic. These symbols are in the same places as our control systems would be. Different shapes, same functions." For the first time, Nexus seemed truly surprised. He turned to the warriors. "Leave us. I wish to speak with the human alone." The warriors bowed and left the room. When the door closed behind them, Nexus approached Newell again. "Your species is not as primitive as we thought," he admitted. "At least you are not. Tell me, are all human females like you?" "We're all different," Newell said carefully. "But we're all capable of more than you seem to think." Nexus reached out one long 4-fingered hand and touched a control panel. A large screen appeared in the air, showing the main Voidborn ship. "That is our mothership," he said. "Your pulse barely affected it. But you have shown that humans might be more interesting than we anticipated." Newell stared at the image, noticing details she couldn't see before. At the center of the diamond shape was what looked like a glowing blue core. "Is that your main power source?" she asked, pointing to the core. Nexus tilted his head. "You are observant. Yes, that is the central command node. It controls all systems on the mothership." Newell filed this information away carefully. A central command node meant a single point of failure, a weakness she might be able to exploit. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked. "Because," Nexus said, his voice lower, "I am curious what else you might observe about us." The conference hall buzzed with tension. Alien delegates from across the galaxy sat in curved rows, their eyes fixed on Unby Park. She stood at the center of the massive circular stage, her simple gray research jacket a stark contrast to the colorful and complex attire of the other species. Hark, a representative from the nomadic researchers, was the first to break the silence. His tentacle-like appendages moved carefully as he spoke. "Your method of planetary defense is most unusual," he said, his translator struggling to capture the full range of his emotions. Yumbi smiled slightly. She knew what they wanted. They weren't just curious about her defense strategy. They wanted to understand how a human had done something no other species had ever accomplished. "It's simple," she began, her voice clear and steady. "We look at problems differently. Where others see barriers, we see puzzles to solve." The Tranquil Consortium's representative, a being made of what looked like living crystal, leaned forward. Its crystalline structure shifted colors as it processed Umbi's words. "Simple? You repelled an entire invasion force using planetary microorganisms. That is not simple." Around the hall, delegates from dozens of species whispered among themselves. Some looked impressed. Others looked worried. A few looked angry. A holographic display flickered to life behind Umbi. It showed the complex ecological system she had manipulated during the Krell invasion. Bacteria, microorganisms, and environmental factors danced in a complicated web of interactions. To most species, it would look like chaos. To Yumbi, it was a carefully designed defense network. "Humans are adaptable," she explained. "We don't just see the world as it is. We see the world as it could be." The Krell representatives sat in the front row, their scaled faces showing a mix of anger and grudging respect. They had come expecting to punish the human settlement. Instead, they found themselves being studied by the very species they had tried to conquer. Hark from the nomadic researchers raised what passed for a hand. "We want to collaborate," he said directly. "Your research could change how we understand planetary ecosystems." Whispers grew louder. Collaboration was rare in the Galactic Accord. Most species guarded their scientific discoveries carefully. But here was a human, offering to share her groundbreaking research openly. Yumbi's parents watched from the side of the stage. Dr. Jae-sung Park nudged his wife, Dr. Yuna Kim. "Our daughter is changing the galaxy," he whispered, a mix of pride and disbelief in his voice. The Tranquil Consortium's representative made an official request. They wanted to establish a joint research station on New Terra. They wanted to study how Yumbi had turned an entire planet into a living defense system. "We are not just offering research," the crystal being said. "We are offering partnership." More delegates raised their hands. The botanical networks of Zarin, the ecological researchers from the Spiral Arm, each wanted a piece of the knowledge Yumbi had unlocked. What had started as a simple defense against invasion was becoming something much bigger. Humanity was no longer just another young species in the Galactic Accord. They were becoming partners, innovators, problem solvers. Yumbi looked out over the crowd. She saw confusion, excitement, and a growing respect. Her simple solution had done more than defend a small human colony. It had opened the door to a new way of thinking about scientific collaboration. "Shall we begin?" she asked, her voice carrying across the massive hall. The galaxy listened. 5 years had passed since Yumbi Park changed everything. The small human research outpost on New Terra had transformed into something nobody could have predicted. What was once a quiet scientific settlement now bustled with activity from dozens of alien species. Research stations dotted the landscape. Tall buildings made of materials that seemed to breathe and change color stood next to the original human research centers. Ships from across the galaxy landed and took off every hour, bringing scientists, diplomats, and curious observers. Yumbi sat in her main research lab, surrounded by holographic displays and strange equipment. She looked different now. Her eyes were sharper, her movements more confident. The teenager who had accidentally saved her colony had become a leading scientific mind in the galaxy. "Another breakthrough," she muttered to herself, tapping a complex diagram that shifted and changed with her touch. Outside the lab, her parents watched. Dr. Jae-sung Park and Dr. Yuna Kim had become celebrities in their own right. They were no longer just researchers. They were the parents of the human who had changed how the galaxy thought about scientific collaboration. The Galactic Accord had completely changed. Before Yumbi's defense, species kept their discoveries secret. They fought over resources. They saw each other as competitors. Now things were different. A group of alien researchers entered the lab. There was Hark from the nomadic researchers, his tentacle-like arms moving carefully around delicate equipment. Next to him was a crystal being from the Tranquil Consortium, its body shifting colors as it processed information. A bird-like researcher from the Spiral Arm Ecological Group followed close behind. "We have something," Yumbi said simply. The aliens leaned in. They had learned that when Yumbi said something like that, it meant something big was coming. She showed them a new way of understanding planetary ecosystems. It wasn't just about studying life. It was about seeing how everything connected, how bacteria could talk to plants, how environmental changes could be predicted and managed. "This could change everything," Hark said, his translator struggling to capture the excitement in his voice. The Krell Imperium, who had once tried to destroy the human settlement, now sent research teams. They wanted to understand how they had been defeated. More importantly, they wanted to learn from the humans who had outsmarted them. News spread quickly. On thousands of planets, in millions of research centers, people talked about the human approach to science. It wasn't about having the biggest weapons. It was about understanding, about seeing connections that others missed. Yumbi's method had become a new way of thinking. Scientists from different species began working together in ways they never had before. They shared information. They built joint research stations. They solved problems that had seemed impossible before. The human settlement on New Terra was no longer just a small research outpost. It was the center of a new scientific revolution. Humans had proven that they were more than just another young species in the galaxy. They were innovators, problem solvers. As the sun set on New Terra, Yumbi looked out her lab window. Ships from a dozen different species moved in the sky. Researchers from across the galaxy worked together in buildings that hadn't existed 5 years ago. "We're just getting started," she said quietly. The galaxy listened. Epilogue ***. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not through military might, not through advanced technology, but through the power of understanding, through the simple human ability to look at a problem and see something nobody else could see.